A man named Frank and a woman named Keely are passionately kissing in an empty hallway. The situation is clearly clandestine. Using Frank's key, since he works as the head of security, they enter his boss's office. As soon as they cross the door, the sexual tension continues, and they end up rolling across the floor until Keely looks up and freezes. There is a dead man in the room. The scene quickly changes when the CBI arrives at the location. Frank tries to justify his presence, claiming he received a call to check the office, but his explanation quickly falls apart. The body belongs to Harry Lashley, and there is something very noticeable. Only one item is missing from the office, but it is the most valuable thing of all, a painting. On top of that, Harry had no reason to be there. Patrick Jane examines the scene and concludes that the murder was not planned. The killer was surprised and used the first thing he could find. Jane points to a decorative bust and says that it was the murder weapon. He also deduces that the body was dragged in from another part of the building. Jane reconstructs the entire scene. Frank and the receptionist went upstairs to have sex, found the body, and since they could not explain why they were there, they moved it. Frank continues denying everything until Jane mentions one key detail. The security cameras had been turned off, something only Frank could do. Faced with this, he finally breaks down and confesses. At the CBI office, Van Pelt informs Lisbon that the stolen painting is El Moro, a 14th century portrait of Carlotta Moro, the only known work by an artist called the Master of Siena. It was purchased by A.P. Cade for $50 million just 3 months earlier. Cade is an eccentric oil exploration tycoon, and he is currently sailing on his yacht. Lisbon orders the team to investigate Harry Lashley's death thoroughly. Lisbon and Jane visit Stevie, Harry's wife, who is completely in shock. She describes her husband as hardworking, honest, and kind, a sort of jack-of-all-trades who helped her father with everything. Jane, noticing the calluses on the corpse's hands, deduces that Harry was a jazz guitarist, something that surprises Stevie. She cannot understand why her husband would have been on that floor of the building. Frank has already been fired, although everyone at the company knew about his encounters with the receptionist. Stevie insists that Harry would never steal anything and directs them to Catherine Hawkes, the woman responsible for purchasing art for her father's private collection. Lisbon meets with Hawkes, who explains that there are at least 100 collectors capable of organizing a theft like this, but she singles out one particular name, Shirali Arlov, a powerful Russian mobster who was outbid by Cade at the painting's auction. Lisbon understands that this information is important and puts the team on his trail. As the team moves forward with the investigation, Van Pelt discovers something disturbing. Harry Lashley had a criminal record. A year earlier, he spent 6 months in prison for robbery. There is also a suspicious payment of $20,000 sent to a post office box in a small town. Jane suggests that he and Van Pelt investigate personally. Lisbon agrees, although she cannot hide a certain surprise and a slight touch of jealousy. As soon as they arrive in the town, Jane immediately notices an art gallery owned by a man named Rob Wallace. He asks Van Pelt to hide her badge. He does not want to attract attention or embarrass her, as he puts it. Van Pelt already knows that this can only mean trouble. Inside the studio, Jane wastes no time. He approaches a woman who is waiting for her daughter to have her portrait painted, and with complete confidence, tells her that he knows she thinks his fiancé, Van Pelt, is too young for him. Van Pelt, uncomfortable, tries to ignore him. Jane watches Rob as he paints, makes seemingly harmless comments, and then says he is going to the bathroom. But true to his style, he does not go to the bathroom. He sneaks around the back of the building, moving through rooms filled with objects, junk, and seemingly worthless curiosities, until he notices something strange, a simple coat hook. He turns it and a secret room opens. Hanging there casually is El Moro. Meanwhile, at the front of the gallery, Rob tries to make Van Pelt uncomfortable, suggesting that her fiancé looks like an idiot. He asks her to turn her head so he can adjust it to a specific angle, and pulls a shotgun from a cabinet. Rob leads Van Pelt toward the back, where they come face to face with Jane. Van Pelt shows her badge and warns him that if he kills them, the CBI will know exactly who did it. Rob is surprised to learn that Harry Lashley is dead. Jane then reveals the truth. The painting Rob has is not the original, but an extremely well-made copy. Harry Lashley commissioned 3 copies. He gave 2 of them to Rob, and Rob kept the 3rd because he liked it too much. Rob admits that he is a forger, but explains that forgery is not a crime if he does not try to sell the paintings as originals. Harry paid him $10,000 for each copy. Jane forces Van Pelt to examine the painting carefully until she discovers the hidden detail that exposes the forgery. A television antenna painted in a work supposedly created in the 14th century. Jane tells Rob that they are going to borrow the painting, or else Van Pelt will take it and ask him many, many questions. Later, Jane and Lisbon meet with A.P. Cade, who seems strangely amused to learn that someone stole a fake. He awkwardly tries to comfort his daughter, Stevie, over her husband's death, but makes it clear that the only thing he truly cares about is the painting. He admits that he keeps the original in a private vault, something that even makes Catherine Hawkes uncomfortable. Jane asks to see it, and the moment he looks at it, he declares that it is also a fake. He points out an absurd detail. One of the writers in the background is carrying a machine gun. Cade immediately accuses Hawkes, but she insists that she has documents proving he purchased the authentic original. The family tension explodes when Harry's criminal past is revealed. Cade turns against his daughter, claiming that she never should have trusted her husband. Stevie, devastated, only wants them to find the killer. Back at the CBI, the team puts the pieces together. Shirali Arlov is in the country, but he travels with a diplomatic passport, making him legally untouchable. Jane asks where he is staying. The scene cuts directly to a luxurious mansion. Women in bikinis, alcohol, drugs, and excess surround the place. Arlov watches the scene coldly. On one wall, displayed like a trophy, hangs El Moro. Jane tries to provoke Lisbon into giving him permission to go after Shirali Arlov, but she flatly refuses. However, Jane notices that Rigsby is more than willing to break the rules, and he quickly convinces him to sneak away with him. So Jane, Rigsby, and Cho secretly head to Lowe's Angels. Before making their move, the 3 meet inside the car to go over the plan. The signal will be a key phrase, "She is beautiful." Jane enters the mansion alone, carrying a painting under his arm. At the door, he tells one of the bodyguards that he has the real portrait of El Moro, stolen a few days earlier, and that he wants to sell it directly to Arlov. They let him in. Before making his move, Jane sits across from Arlov, who acts intimidating and calculating. Cho and Rigsby listen to the entire conversation through Jane's cell phone. Jane shows him the painting, which turns out to be a child's drawing. He admits that it is only a decoy, but makes it clear that he knows Arlov has the real one, something confirmed by the mobster's predatory smile. Jane officially introduces himself as a CBI agent and explains that he is investigating Harry Lashley's murder. He offers Arlov a deal. Arlov can tell him who he bought the painting from and, thanks to his diplomatic immunity, walk away completely unharmed. Arlov refuses. Jane then asks to see the authentic Moro. Arlov agrees and hands it to him. Jane holds the 600-year-old painting, studies it with admiration, and says the key phrase, "She is beautiful." At that exact moment, Rigsby activates the fire alarm. Chaos erupts. In the confusion, Jane swaps the original for the fake he brought with him. He runs outside, gets into the car with Cho and Rigsby, and the 3 drive away laughing, thrilled that they have just conned the Russian mob. Later, Lisbon confronts Jane for disobeying orders, clearly furious. Even so, Jane and Lisbon visit A.P. Cade. With Stevie and Catherine Hawkes standing in front of him, Jane presents the painting and openly admits that he stole it. Arlov cannot do anything. He was in possession of stolen art. Stevie breaks down when she sees that her father is more excited about getting the painting back than about her husband's death. Cade once again insults Harry, saying that he was useless and that his daughter dodged a bullet by never having children with him. Jane is clearly affected and steps in. He tells Cade that he has a daughter, and that is why he knows how to recognize a father who fails. He bluntly calls him a blind, vain, and emotionally incapable man. Cade tries to throw him out, but Jane does something unexpected. He takes El Moro from the wall and throws it into the fireplace. The painting begins to burn. Jane turns to Catherine Hawkes and says it is curious that someone who devoted her life to art would not try to save a masterpiece. unless she knew it was not the original. Jane reveals that the painting was fake, something he discovered after stealing it, but Hawks already knew because she has the real one locked inside her safe. Jane exposes the whole truth. Harry went to Hawks looking for advice. She asked him to commission a second copy so she could sell one to Arlov and keep the other. All he had to do was enter after hours and take the painting, but Harry caught her. During the struggle, she hit him with the bust. As Jane speaks, he casually mentions that the police are already searching her apartment. Hawks finally confesses. She never meant to kill him. Jane apologizes to Cade for his earlier speech and admits that he needed it as an excuse to burn the painting and provoke Hawks into reacting. Cade finally admits that Jane was right and promises to try to become a better father. Back at the CBI, Cho and Rigsby wonder how one painting can be worth $10,000 while another is worth $50 million when they look identical. Jane looks at the painting hanging on the wall, studies it twice, and with a smile says that it is hard to tell, just to annoy them. If you enjoyed this episode, don't stop here. Head over to my channel and check out the complete playlist of The Mentalist, with every episode organized in order from beginning to end. Watch the full series, follow Patrick Jane's journey, and discover all the hidden details, mysteries, and secrets along the way. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more.